COVID took away the last, I think, 4 months of my high school years. Before the pandemic, I was in high school still as my senior year. Uh, just everyday normal life, I guess.
Well, before the pandemic, I had 2 jobs. I also was part of 2 clubs, and I was also going to school at PTC. I was working at Chick-fil-A, and I was working at, the cafeteria at the school. And I was pretty much full-time, just doing everything. And then once I got back, I was cooking dinner for my roommates. So I had a very busy life before COVID hit.
When COVID-19 hit the world, our everyday lives were impacted, and many hobbies of folks were put to the side due to the pandemic that raged on.
Go out a lot, do things outside. Like, I like to play basketball in my free time, and during COVID, they actually took down the hoops, like parks and stuff. So that's like one thing that kind of impacted.
Well, before the pandemic, like I said, I was part of 2 clubs. I was part of the anime club and I was part of the D&D club. D&D club, I showed up to about once a week. It was more of a time killer. Anime club was something I've watched anime like for years throughout my life, so I very much enjoy it. It's something I've always liked. So, and eventually, right before COVID hit, I was about to be president of the club, but then it hit and we weren't able to continue sessions, and yeah, so most of my hobbies kind of just got taken away with COVID coming.
Education is a staple of society, and with the ongoing pandemic, the way that people had to attend school had to change in order to keep the safety of all citizens.
College, we're still hands-on, so we go to school. So, I mean, it was somewhat of an impact. The biggest thing was just basically wearing masks and having to stay apart.
It didn't really impact my education too much until they asked us to come back to the schools at Pittsburgh Technical College. Once we went back, I immediately got sick. It wasn't COVID, thankfully, but I did have strep throat, and a lot of the symptoms from strep throat is the same symptoms from COVID. So I did have to get sent home, and I was a little bit annoyed because it was within the very first week. So I just decided instead of continuing school, I was just going to take a break until things got a little bit better, and then I would go back. Like, I'll be starting to back up in January. So it affected it to a point where I did have to leave the school, but I will be going back, thankfully.
When COVID-19 hit the United States in early March of 2020, unemployment rates soared to an all-time high, as many people were forced home and out of work in fear of the spread that was foreseen to come in the eventual days, weeks, and months.
Well, once COVID did hit, I did lose both my jobs. I had to go back home because I didn't have transportation. Once I went back home, I was too far away to work at those jobs. With COVID happening, I had to leave Chick-fil-A, where I just got a pay raise. I went from $11 or $11.50 to $13.50. That's the highest I've ever been paid, and that had to get taken away from me before it even happened for me.
The pandemic was an unprecedented event that occurred, and many people and even countries simply were not ready to battle it. So what did the virus expose about our society, government, and us as people?
I think that it shows our weak spot, not being ready for something like that. You know what I mean? Like, just everybody was freaked out about it. And it all just happened so quickly. So I think that we handled it decently. I think there's things they could have done better, but either way, I don't think that there was much things they could have done to change what happened.
America, I feel like we did okay at first, where we closed things down like almost completely for a little while. I think it should have been probably a little bit longer. when that did happen. I like the fact that within a few months they did close things down. They kind of put us through quarantine, like a full-on quarantine. I think it should have been longer, but that's the government's choice on that. And the choice of masks, I think, was an okay idea. It's not great, because if you think about it, a lot of other diseases from back in the past, they've had these really good masks that actually kept everything out, and we have just this one thin piece of fabric in front of our face that doesn't stop everything. And yeah, it just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of how America took it, but it's not like they did horrible at handling the situation.
The virus changed the way we have been able to live for the past year. What is the outlook on the world over the next year or two?
I see it hopefully going back to the way it was just before. No mask. I mean, just this Monday, you don't have to wear a mask in stores, so yeah, basically just back to normal.
What I see is for the next year, we're gonna have a lot of situations with COVID where hopefully the vaccines don't harm anyone in any sort of way. In the next 2 years, we're gonna definitely see what effects happen with the vaccines. Hopefully nothing, like I said, negative. In the next 2 years, it's mainly gonna be the vaccines. COVID's gonna probably stop spreading as bad as it has been. It really just seeing, is the vaccines gonna actually work? Is it actually going to cause other issues for America? It's a toss-up.
The COVID-19 pandemic is an event that will live on forever, and we just so happen to be the unfortunate group of people that had to endure it. It changed everyone's lives as it affected hobbies, jobs, and even the education system. COVID is not over, but the valiant efforts being made today are helping to slow the spread to a halt. Hopefully in the next year or two, life can return to some normalcy, and we can put this unfortunate and heartbreaking times for some to rest. Thank you for watching.